Soon after President Donald Trump was elected in November, he gave an ultimatum for Israel and Hamas to reach a ceasefire deal before his inauguration. By the time he took oath at Capitol Hill on January 20th, the ceasefire in Gaza was in its second day. Egypt and Qatar, the two main mediators in this deal, said that the Gaza ceasefire agreement was reached mainly because of the US pressure put on Israel from both the Biden and Trump administrations.
What we have seen from the US, a collaboration transcending both administrations, was a clear demonstration for the commitment of the US to reach to that deal.
But while the Trump administration helped in bringing peace, it is sparking tension for its vision on permanent solution to the Palestinian crisis. In numerous occasions, President Trump insisted that the Gaza enclave must be evacuated from its citizens, asking Egypt and Jordan to accommodate those Palestinian refugees.
I envision a world, people living there. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. I have a feeling that despite them saying no, I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general president, but that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done, and people can live in harmony and in peace.
Trump said that in a press conference with the Israeli Prime Minister, who became the first foreign head of state to be invited to meet the re-elected president. Egypt, Jordan, the Palestinian Authority, as well as several Arab countries, rejected evacuating Gaza from its people.
حل هذه الأزمة اللي جاءت هذا الظلم التاريخي مش إخراج الشعب الفلسطيني من مكانه. الظلم التاريخي اللي وقع على الفلسطينيين وتم تهجيرهم قبل كده ولم يرجعوا إلى مناطق ثبت أو سبق التأكيد لهم إن هم ممكن يرجعوا تاني بعد ما يتم تعميرها. هل ممكن الكلام ده يتكرر مرة تاني؟ أنا ما افتكرش. وبقول إن الشعب المصري لو أنا طلبت منه هذا الأمر هيخرج كله في الشارع المصري ويقول لي لا.
The new Trump vision for the future of Palestinians is harsher from the one he announced during his first term. Instead of the UN Security Council resolution that dictated a two-state solution based on the 1967 border with East Jerusalem as a capital for Palestine, Trump offered a much smaller demilitarized Palestinian state. He would also allow Israel to annex many parts of the West Bank.
ترامب عندما كان رئيسا للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في دورته ال45 وقال أن الضفة الغربية هي أرض متنازع عليها وليست أرض فلسطينية، والآن بعدما أتى كرئيسا للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في دورتها ال47 سيسعى إلى ضم الضفة الغربية إلى إسرائيل والعمل على تهجير الفلسطينيين، وده إن دل على شيء يدل على منهجية الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في تكريس التواجد الإسرائيلي في المنطقة في إطار الحرص وبشكل عام على تنفيذ المخطط الإسرائيلي وحلم إسرائيل من النيل إلى الفرات.
Since October 2023, when the war on Gaza began, the United States rushed to support Israel with state-of-the-art defense systems and missiles. Moreover, the White House moved military resources, including aircraft carriers and other Navy vessels, into the Middle East to help protect Israel. Estimates of how much financial support Israel's military has received from the US in the first year of the war vary. The lowest was $18 billion. A report by the Washington Institute for International and Public Affairs at Brown University suggests it could be over $22 billion. With Trump in the White House, that figure is expected to grow significantly.
فضلا عن الإسناد والدعم العسكري الذي قدمته الإدارات الأمريكية المختلفة للكيان الصهيوني، هناك باستمرار دعم سياسي وقانوني لهذا الكيان في مختلف المحافل الدولية وبالذات في مجلس الأمن. الإدارة الأمريكية استخدمت حق الفيتو في مجلس الأمن حوالي 5 مرات لإجهاض قرارات لوقف إطلاق النار في قطاع غزة.
And as Israel expanded the Gaza war to the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria and Iran by striking its consulate in Damascus, it enjoyed US support all the way.
We've devastated Hamas, we decimated Hezbollah, we destroyed Assad's remaining armaments, and we crippled Iran's air defenses. And in doing this, we've defeated some of America's worst enemies. We took out terrorists who were wanted for decades for shedding rivers of American blood.
إسرائيل هي دولة وظيفية تنفذ أجندة الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في الشرق الأوسط. قدمت كل أوجه الدعم، ولكن هذه المرة بشكل مضاعف على كافة المستويات.
The 15-month-long war in Gaza also exposed contradictions in the messages the White House sent to the world.
There were minor contradictions in the American narrative. We've seen the Pentagon have been requesting from the Israelis to limit their military actions, while there was a continuity of financial and military support. Actually, some of this contradiction came from the civil society pressure on the American administration. We've seen students going into demonstrations.
U.S. policy on Gaza not only caused concern across the world, but even within the U.S. administration. More than 10 officials, including from the State Department and Army, were reported to have publicly resigned, saying that the U.S. policy towards Israel contradicts American values and jeopardizes U.S. national security. Even the usual U.S. call for freedom of speech was tarnished. Congress stood against American students who organized protests to support Palestine. Presidents of top universities were forced to resign for not taking enough measures against this student movement. American social media companies like Meta were accused of blocking hundreds of thousands of posts supporting Palestine.
Support for Israel is a constant for the U.S. foreign policy. However, the Gaza war has exposed how the White House has double standards when it comes to preserving its interests in the Middle East.
In violation to U.S. Security Council resolutions, Israel kept building settlements on territories the UN deemed for Palestine and Syria. And while the UN General Assembly voted last year in favor of a full state membership for Palestine, the US was among the few who rejected the motion. In fact, over the past decades, more than half of the 92 UN Security Council vetoes exercised by the US were against draft resolutions, either critical of Israel or supporting Palestinians.
The American support have led to the prolonged aggression in this war, and also have led to the continuity of the lack of solution to the Israeli-Palestinian problem.
The US is seen as complicit in Israel's efforts to defy international law, reject the application of UN Security Council resolutions, and disrespect the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, and many UN bodies. What Trump announced in February about the US takeover of Gaza and permanently dismissing the establishment of a Palestinian state will probably spark the same accusations against the biggest country in the world.
These past 15 months of Israel's war on Gaza have shaken the global governance system, which was created when the Allies established the United Nations after World War II. Decades on, if a Palestinian state is not recognized and international justice is not applied, fears are growing that this governance systems could further get undermined. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, from the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza.